Okay, let us round up the Ndebele estate. We'll start with the social organization, and there is a key concept here. The key concept, one of the most controversial aspects when you're dealing with the Ndebele estate, is with their relationship with the Shona. There's a question which reads like, the Ndebele Shona relations were far from cordial discuss. So it's something that we are going to explore. So we'll understand that through understanding the social organization of the Ndebele and also the economic organization as we round up this topic. So the Ndebele had a unique social system. It was organized on a caste basis. There was a class system. So the society, just like the one in the French Revolution time, was divided into three distinct groups or social classes. There were the Zanzi, the Enkla, and the Hole. Right. Let me try to explain each and every characteristic of each and every group. Number one, the Zanzi, comprised of the original Kumalo from Guniland, the ones vakanyatsa kuuya na mzirikazi vacho when he was running away. The Zanzi, Abe Zanzi, it means from the south. So this constituted the superior class and occupied most important positions. So they formed the aristocratic class and constituted about 15% of the total population. Then the Enkla was the second most important group in the state. When the Ndebele, I think yesterday's lesson was quite important. Why was it important? It is because it helped us to know the origins and formation of the state, and we began to understand how they were moving from Guniland to Zimbabwe. You find out that along the way they encountered some tribes. I think I missed this point yesterday. They fought with some tribes, but some which they managed to subdue, joined, they conquered and assimilated them. Vaibuango joining the state. So the original Kumalo wakava Guniland, vachifamba vachuya along the way, pane vaijoinira umunzira. Those were the Enkla. Right. So in one way or the other, I would rather say these classes were classified according to the knowledge of the Ndebele culture and history. Those who knew where the state really came from, or those who knew where the culture really came from, constituted the Zanzi, the aristocracy, the royalty. Then secondly, the Enkla, which was the second most important group, like I said, it comprised of those assimilated into the nation during the journey into Zimbabwe. That is the Soto and the Tswana. And they occupied important military positions and constituted about 25% of the total population. Then we have the Hole. The Hole were the least important in the Ndebele state. They were also known as the Lozwi. They consisted of the Kalanga and the Shona people who were conquered and captured in Zimbabwe. And they constituted about 60% of the total population. So they were the most populous group. So some of them were drafted into regiments and they were taught Ndebele military tactics and Ndebele language, which is a sign of cordiality, isn't it? Yes, this is a sign of good relationship. Of course, they were conquered, but the Ndebele here are saying you can learn our language. There was sort of a cultural exchange because language is also part of culture. Language conveys culture. Those words of a language conveys or carries the culture. Heritage studies. So those Hole who proved themselves in battle also occupied important military positions in the state. And due to intermarriages, most of them ended up losing their identity. These included the Moyos, the Sbandas, the Nubes, and the likes. So one of the same is a hybrid. That's what they say. So the Ndebele practiced the Nwala ceremony. It was a call to everyone in the state to express thanks for good crops and to renew their loyalty to the Amadlozi, the spirits, especially the royal Amadlozi. So the ritual involved symbols of rain, female fertility, tribal potency, as well as symbols for the fertility of land and cattle. I once read an anthology titled Songs of Lawino by Okotpa Bitet. It talks about female fertility when it comes to rain-making ceremonies, when they will be dancing during the proceedings of the ceremony, they will be insinuating some sexual innuendos. Right, like which is also a sign of fertility. Like black cattle, which were said to contain the royal Amadlozi, were paraded and the Amabuto were well assembled. So this provided a show of force which served as a deterrent to rebellions. So anyone who could not attend the Nwala ceremony was regarded as a rebel and was doomed to be punished. So the Amabuto were well assembled, like I said. So the Inkosi was identified with the nation's fertility and well-being. The Inkosi, who is the king. So all Izinduna and the tributary chiefs were required to demonstrate their veneration of the Amadlozi and the loyalty to the king. So failure to attend the Nwala ceremony was seen as a refusal to renew loyalty to Amadlozi and the king, and invited what? Retribution. Yes. You find out that they also had a peaceful coexistence in the sense that the Ndebele adopted the Shona Mondoro rain-making ceremony. Yes. Just like when we explained about the Portuguese adopting the Ndebele culture, isn't it? We explained about the Portuguese adopting the Ndebele, the Mtapa culture, the Shona culture. Sometimes when you're living in a certain area, they usually say, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, or if you are in Rome, do what the Romans do. So that's the issue. Even if you are an overlord, even if you have so much power, you have to respect what you are seeing there. So the Ndebele, when they arrived on the Zimbabwean plateau, they were the Shona already living in the area, and the Shona worked with the Mondoro spirit for rain-making processions. So the Ndebele had to adopt that. So they recognized the ritual authority. So this symbolizes a peaceful coexistence and rain-making powers of the tributary chiefs and mediums in the area, as long as they remained what? Loyal. So there was sort of a peaceful coexistence. These guys would give them loyalty, like there was this type of an exchange which was cordial, if I would like to put it across in such a way. So they even paid tribute to the mediums of the great Shona spirits, like Nyamusha, Wanewawa, Chaminuka, and the likes. The Ndebele paid tribute to these type of spirits. So the recognition of indigenous religion helped to bring about unity for the Ndebele and its assimilated indigenous people. So Ndebele was also made the official language, and they worshipped God through ancestral spirits. So when you talk about the economic organizations, we would also like to say the Ndebele economy had suffered a number of distortions. There was some misconception of historical facts, if I would like to put it across in such a way. Like many Eurocentrist historians misunderstood, or I would rather say they deliberately distorted the basis of the Ndebele economy. Because when the Ndebele came through initially on the western part of Zimbabwe, they engaged in raiding. Because they did nothing. They raided because they wanted to settle down. So in one way or the other, if I would like to put it across again, I can argue that their raiding was somewhat justifiable. Yes, because they wanted to settle. So vakatanga kuraida pekutanga. So that alone yakabva yapendesa black with the whites. The whites began to say that they were raiding economy. They are lazy and they don't farm, they don't mine, they don't engage in any craft work activities. So this myth was also spread by missionaries, traders, and hunters. They argued that the Ndebele were nomads and their survival was solely dependent on raiding. They also argued that the Ndebele never engaged in trade. They depicted the Ndebele as a lazy ethnic group which entirely depended on raiding. So it was a colonial myth. They wanted to find a loophole. Another thing, they wanted to appear as saviors in front of the Shonas. Because like the colonization process, the missionaries found it hard to penetrate. I've read so many historical sources. You can check of Mr. D.M. Beach. They make it clear that after so many years, they failed to convert even one person to Christianity because of the rigidity of the Ndebele system. Lobengula used to say, we are fine with our indigenous culture. So when they discovered that they could not penetrate with their Christianity, they began to engage in politics. Those are the later topics. That's why you find out that when we talk about the steps taken by the whites or the steps taken by Rhodes to colonize Zimbabwe, you find out that missionaries were involved. talk of the cancellation of the Moffat Treaty, talk of the signing of the Rat Concession, right? There were missionaries involved. Moffat was involved in the Moffat Treaty. Reverend Charles Yeom was also involved in the what? In the Rat Concession. Why? Because they failed. So vanhu vakatanga kuva nebitterness, vakatanga kuti mandebele vanorova vanhu, mandebele vanoita say, you get the same. They began to say a lot of bad things about the Ndebele. But as you have seen, we cannot deny the fact that they raided them. But before the whites came, there was peaceful coexistence. Actually, this is factual between the Shona and the what and the Ndebele. So my whites ndo vakatanga because they vaida kutsvaga kuwana nzira kuti vacolonize nayo. Imagine kuparidza mazikoro obota dzautendeusa munhu because unobengula yeuraya anga asina mafanisi pane paanotonzi pane vanhu vakada kuchinjwa here baatonopisa misha yavo baatomuita sei because aiziya aitoona kuti vanhu vakatopinda nenzira yakati. That's what the Portuguese did. Ndizvo maportuguese akashandisa religion. We talked about the failures, captains of the gate. Pamafailures paya patoni machechi. Chechi basa rayo nderekusoftena mind of a person. Ndosaka uchiona kuti munhu wese kana achida kubira anokushandisira chechi. Because vanoonekwa kunyara chechi. So the Ndebele, of course, we cannot deny that they were raiders. It was one of the various components of the Ndebele economy, and raiding seems to have been intense during the early days of the Ndebele settlement in southwestern Zimbabwe. They raided the Shona subject people for cattle, women, grain, and manpower. And during their early days in western Zimbabwe, and raiding was necessitated by the desire to build a powerful and secure state. And divide our food to power in political what subservience by local incorporated people, so that the people can respect them, so they could, when they exercise their overlordship, the Shona could also pay tribute to the one. So there was also a sort of a do me and do you like relationship. You get the sense? Mashona ibadara tribute unalo bengula because yanga shika aipisa. Then iwo wanalo bengula ibadara tribute to the Shona spirits. So mawaiti ndo zanga suda. For an outsider to destroy you, they use what we call divide and rule. If a girlfriend, if a boyfriend wants to, or even if a girlfriend, in whichever way, if okay, for example, if a girlfriend wants to control a boyfriend, I need to make sure that dambura unity yekunda kwao. Chete. Acha iwo auchatirira nzadzi dzako, auchatirira mai vako uri mukomana, waakutirira girlfriend. Ende zvinobva zvakuita kuti urule. Ukada kuzviita wega, ndakamboda kuzviita gamba izvozvo. Ndada kuzviita unga ndakangwara steering. Andinoziva kuti kana wakadzidza sometimes you feel like you are wise. No, pane paunotogumira, pane level raunogumira. Ndada kuzviita gandanga. Ndichida kufaita nyaya dzangu ndiri ndega. Ende munhu akatonoti uri kufaita uri wega usina hama dzekukusapota, haiwa unoitwa part. Until sekuru wangu akatozvida zvekuzonzwa nemakuhodzi mukomana ari patitle. Though that's how I was rescued. Otherwise, I say I don't even know. Because I was in a dilemma and I was in a very tight situation. So any manipulator, anyone who wants to control you, it isolate from people who are close to you. That's what happened with when they colonized. You get the sense? They knew the Shona and the Ndebele, of course, Panama difference and Batana. Tarise uno Ndebele anotobhadhara tribute kunyange zvazvorarwa vari kutonga. So ngatidambure the network. So vakatanga kuspreada that Ndebele vanoita basa rekuraidha mashona vanoita sei. You get the sense? Yes. So besides raiding, and as we try to rebut what the whites said, they also engaged in crop cultivation, livestock production. There was also trade. And all subjects paid tribute to the Ndebele overlords, and hunting and gathering was also done, right? And also mining was also done. They also even paid tribute to the Njanja. Njanja is in Wedza. Kunonzi kunjanja ndekupi. So itonzi Ndebele vaibhadhara tribute to the Njanja mine workers. And the Ndebele also did craft work. And they were involved in a variety of craft work like basketry, weaving of cotton into cloth, talk of pottery, wood and stone carving. They also did blacksmithing. And one must note that the Ndebele depended on the Shona of iron tools, right? Yes. They also relied on the Shona. They relied on the Shona for the iron tools and weapons. Because the Shona were specialist in that field. So in one way or the other, the Ndebele-Shona relations, they were good and they were also bad. Of course, the line of the line of the whites can be justified in one way or the other, because pawakasvikawo vairaidha, pawaikanganisirwa vairaidwa, ende munhu angari strict stereo pekutanga Ndebele. Muzilikas, I think we've read about him as a no-nonsense leader of unparalleled abilities. He even banned intermarriages between the Shona and Ndebele during this time. Mwana wake Lobengula ndiye akazorerutsa kuti maShona neMandebele arorana. Otherwise, Muzilikas aitoda kuti the caste system irambe iri maintained. But whichever way, there's an exoneration on his side, because his son also corrected that. Right. So there was a misconception, because in the early stages of Ndebele settlement, that is between 1840 and 1870, the Ndebele were preoccupied with their own security, such that they could not always fight the Shona. Adventurers like FC Selu and some colonial agents always depicted the Ndebele as warlike. Plus, Ndebele pakatanga kusvika muno mfuti havana kuramba vachiita raid, because they were also preoccupied with their own what? Security. Vaida kusetla chini. Andokona vanhu vari kutanga kusvika panzvimbo. So kana uchitanga kusvika panzvimbo utange kuona kuti manext door ari sei, tanga wagadzirisa panzvimbo pauri. So the point yekutaura kuti Ndebele aizoraid down every time aizodai, it's not wholly true. So Eurocentrists argue that after establishing themselves in Western Zimbabwe, the Ndebele raided every part of the country up until 1890s. So they also argue that the relationship between the Shona and the Ndebele was that of the master of the servant, which is not wholly true. I think I explained about the exchange between the two. It's not true. Why? The reality is that the Ndebele had an 80 kilometers radius. We are talking of Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe is big. Are you getting the sense? So the Ndebele had exercised influence over a small area, that is Matabeleland. And more so, it should be noted that not all Shona were raided by the Ndebele. So the whites exaggerated. Ndebele state iru kokublawayo. How can they raid one arokamta? Hazvimeke sense. Mutime yekuti hakuna mahelicopter netrain nechi. Tukuti hazvikare kwekare ka 200 nchakuti years ago. Ameno 100 nchakuti 200, I don't know. Nearly 200 years ago. So the Shona who lived furthest from the Ndebele, for example, in places like Harare and Manicaland, were highly raided. So it was the what? The Eurocentrists who painted the Ndebele as bloodthirsty raiders and the Shona as vulnerable, helpless victims. You see. But we have many pieces of evidence which proves that the Ndebele and the Shona coexisted peacefully. There was peaceful coexistence, between the two, and the relations were cordial. So that's what you're supposed. That's the question that you're supposed to answer. The Ndebele-Shona relations were far from cordial. Discuss. Just a simple. It's easy, guys. These things are so easy.